Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to another StarCraft 2 England cast. Today guys, I have got a game between prOpBobson, the red Terran player in the top right, who is up against MouseCC's MorroW, the blue Terran player in the lower left. The map is Daybreak, it is a ladder game, and well, it is between two Terrans, so that means it's a TvT. Now, for those of you who don't know what the tag prop is, it's for Team Property, who are pretty awesome. I've cast Bobson in one of Bobson's other games today already, so that is all cool. I've also got another one from him as well, so I've got 3 of those which should be out in the next couple of days, and depending on which order I do them in, this could actually be the last one. So it's always the downside of like recording a couple of games in a row and releasing them over time, but of course that is how you manage to keep up my amazing record of I've nearly averaged 2 games a day, or 2 videos a day, every day for the last year, which I think that's pretty cool. It's given you guys loads of StarCraft to watch, it's given me loads of StarCraft to watch, and it's been great fun. So, yay, I hope next year I can keep that up, maybe even exceed that. I definitely can if I do some more tournaments and stuff, especially things like the ESET UK Masters and things like that, which hopefully I should be able to. Now, looking around here, obviously, Bobson getting a gas up first, that's quite interesting in itself. The barracks started for MorroW as well there, so that's all fine. The barracks now just coming down here for Bobson, so gas first just means he's going to be able to tech pretty heavily. MorroW, judging by this positioning of units, I'm expecting to see actually quite a quick command center. I don't know why, I just have a feeling that's what he's going to do. We'll wait and see. If he gets a gas, obviously, then it's probably not, but if he was going to go for an early tech lab or reactor or something on this barracks, he wouldn't have put it next to the command center because obviously you can't build it there, so he'd have to lift it, which wastes time, and wasting time is never good because it may only be a couple of seconds, but it's a few seconds that your opponent doesn't waste. Now, looking around here, obviously we do have MorroW getting up his orbital command, that's all fine. Still hasn't taken any gas, meanwhile that one gas still mining with 3 SCVs in it for Bobson, who's first barracks is just about to get up. The SCV comes in and scouts though, sees obviously the timings, that's all good, and well, we should now see well, a factory coming down. It's quite an early factory, that's all good. There goes down the command center for MorroW as well. So as predicted, everything going to plan. Bobson getting on that factory, getting on the barracks, obviously gonna just go for a more tech heavy route, more aggressive route, getting up his own orbital command there as well. We do have the refinery still there. It's all scouted out though by MorroW, so he knows pretty much what's to be expected, and now MorroW actually floating over that barracks, so again, just interesting. That wastes some time, and I mean, the advantage of it is that with that supply depot from the barracks there, should there be some super early aggression, you just have a bit less of area for enemy units to run through, which makes things a little bit nice for you. The second gas coming now down for Bobson, both gas up for MorroW as well, that's all fine. No expansion yet for the red Terran player. What are we going to have from the factory? Wait and see. Nothing at the moment. The starport coming down though. Are we going to see some Hellions? We could see obviously some elevator play. That's a possibility. It's well, pretty strong anyway, elevator play all the way. We do have the tech lab, so Banshee's now a possibility as well, could be an early tank. There's lots and lots of different things available. The factory now just coming down though for MorroW. So both these players teching, but MorroW is definitely going to have an absolutely astronomical advantage in terms of the economy and income. And really that just puts in a position where Bobson has to deal great damage, because ultimately if he doesn't deal huge amounts of damage, then let's face it, he's going to be so far behind in the work account. Now this second orbital command's coming down. Well, once that orbital command's finished, he's going to have way more. We're going to see a Banshee almost certainly now out from here. We do also have Cloak coming down there, so Cloak Banshee coming in, that's all fine. We've got more Marines on their way, but these Cloak Banshees have to do good damage because ultimately there's a second Mule on its own. That's pretty huge. I'm not sure if this is a miss rally at the moment. I think it must be because there's no SCV transfer going down either, which is quite interesting. So we'll wait and see what does actually happen, but this is really where we'll see MorroW start pulling ahead in terms of the work account. The Banshee on its way, obviously the Marines coming to take the watchtower. Wall off the supply depots, that's all cool. We'll see 2 Banshees probably before this hits, just so Cloak is finished when they come in. That's fairly standard. Obviously the starport on its way down from MorroW as well. And no, it looks like actually this orbital command is going to be sending the SCVs up here to be more safe. So clearly MorroW expecting the aggression. He saw what was coming, he knew it's a one-base play. I don't know if he still knows there's nothing there. He hasn't actually gone over, so he is unaware of that. The Hellion, Al just going to go and poke and prod and have a little look around, but the double Mule is great news for MorroW. And if we take a look at the income, for example, we can see that MorroW is really putting ahead in terms of the mineral income, which is quite important at this stage of the game. It means that he's also got the option of getting the additional gas up sooner. Instead of 26-26, if we look at what's coming out, the first Banshee is on its way over, spotted by the Hellion though. That of course is disastrous because out comes the Viking. We do have 50 gas banked up here, so hopefully we won't see another mule. Hopefully that'll be saved, just ready for the scan, ready to deal with this. A lot of Marines out as well, so they can just pretty much straight go over there. There is the cloak, but there is a scan, and that Banshee is going to be able to survive with 2 HP. That is absolutely brilliant for Bobson, to be honest. It was pretty lucky, but the important thing is it is still alive. And of course, an alive Banshee deals infinitely more damage than a dead Banshee. And of course, still quite a lot of energy required to do this. So many Marines getting taken out here. That's a bit of a problem. The engineering bay done though, so missile turrets are now starting. And of course, it's just a case of picking off these SCVs ASAP. There's the scan though, so that does put an end to it. But that Banshee did good damage. 7 workers killed by Bobson already. And Riddy's going to be pretty happy about that, but he knows what's really in store. The second Banshee on its way across now, and of course it can just recloak. And as long as it stays away from these missile turrets, it's going to be absolutely fine. The Viking is there though, so the cloak needs to go down ASAP. There we go. Phew. The cloak does just hit in time. Needs to be careful of the missile turrets. So really just got a choice of what it can focus now. Got to be quite careful because the missile turrets do have good positioning there. The Banshee not going to be able to do too much more with the 2 Vikings out at the moment. There's the scan, and that is going to be the end of the Banshee harassment. In terms of the loss, bang on equal, 550 to 550 resources either side. The important thing to bear in mind though is Bobson killed most of what he killed was a lot of SCVs, and as a result that's going to hurt MorroW's income. They are now equal on SCV count, and Bobson is getting up the double command center. And that is because he knows his opponent has the natural base up, knows he needs to start pulling ahead, he knows he needs to outproduce him in SCVs, because ultimately he doesn't know if he managed to pick off enough to really level out the SCV count. So that's why we're seeing that. It's also just a good move anyway. But the downside for MorroW is he was double muling his main base, which means naturally it's going to be a bit lower on income anyway. So that's a bit low on minerals anyway, so that's the only problem you've got there. Here comes down the natural. We've got the tank there quite nicely. Siege mode just starting now. The second tank on its way. We've got more barracks being added on. That third base most likely just going to stay up in the main to produce mules and obviously SCVs for quite a while. But in comes a bit of aggression here. Those Hellions could potentially do some good damage, but the tanks are in a good supportive position. Siege mode not done though, which is not ideal. The Marines trying to do some more damage, but MorroW pushing through. Those Hellions being surprisingly effective. The Marines able to do good damage for MorroW, picking off 1 tank. That is good news for him, but the rest of this push gonna be forced back now, of course, with the tanks coming in. Siege mode is way earlier for Bobson compared to MorroW. And of course that's great news for him as well, because it just means that he's going to be a little bit safe for a little bit longer. But we're most certainly into the mid game now, and overall if we look at the worker count, 36 to 43, but the extra orbital command that is now coming down to take a third for Bobson means that he will take the lead again, and it's swings and roundabouts, 2 of one, half dozen of the other. And ultimately, these two are in a pretty even position right now, in my opinion. Bobson has slightly more supply just due to the fact that he's got the tanks out. He's got double the army supplies, so that's again just due to having the tanks, the medevacs on the field as well. In terms of, well, MorroW's got 1 tank, 3 Marines, so really very low on the army, but nearly 10 workers ahead, which is good news for him. This 1 tank staying up here in case any drops come down. That's good planning. Meanwhile, a handful of units coming down here with a tank at each base, just to keep him safe as best he can. The drops should come down. This tank actually getting in the way of the orbital command. That has got to be irritating. We should see probably a quick drop of mules come down. There we go. Don't you just love it when things happen as you predict them? It's absolutely awesome. The Viking chilling up here, really keeping MorroW safe from drops, so that's all fine. Of course, drop play, a huge part of TvT. Siege tank positioning and drops are pretty massive, because that's really the only way you deal with the siege line is by dropping, because it's a mobile. You can also just drop on its head because tanks have a minimum range. So that is pretty much a fundamental of the matchup. Meanwhile, Blue Flame coming down. It's a mech style build out of MorroW compared to a real standard Marine tank medevac out of Bobson. For some reason I was going to say Marine Marauder then. We may see a couple of Marauders, but it's very unlikely. We do have, of course, Combat Shield on its way down. Scan coming off, seeing this scan is absolutely ideal. It sees pretty much everything. It sees all 5 of the factories, and Bobson there. 2 engineering games with mech, mind games. And of course, anyone who's seen the video of Day 9 and Apollo laughing for hours about it, about mind games, knows how funny mind games can be, because mind games of course are very good. But I love the way Bobson pointed that out as well. Like, if he did that to me while I was playing, it would actually make me laugh hysterically for probably long enough for him to just come and kill me, because I just wouldn't be able to do anything else. I'd just be laughing at how comical it was. The fact he pointed it out as well. I'm still chuckling to myself. I don't know if you can tell from my voice, but definitely still chuckling. Yeah, anyway though, we've got more factories. We've got mass mech en route. We've got, what's that, 8 Hellions, 7 tanks, 3 Vikings just for the air superiority, because if you pick off the medevacs, then infantry isn't actually that strong. Bobson, though, he's pretty comfortable. He's getting good numbers of stuff out. He's getting a concussive shell. He's getting a couple of marauders, so we are going to see Marine Marauder medevac with tank support. That's all fine. The marauders are really there just to help deal with anything that could be coming and pushing through. These Hellions, though, are on their way across. What's this looking like? Well, double tank there, and a good little wall off position. The bunker coming down as well. To be honest, those Hellions won't be having too much of a party, but, well, the natural base is a lot less protected. There is the 1 tank there. There's also the 2 marauders. They're going to be doing an okay job. Of course, concussive shell has now finished as well. And the tank siege, all that damage, all the damage everywhere, the damage, and there's the final Hellion dead. Looking at the loss tab, MorroW losing quite a bit more for the time being, and of course, Bobson just chilling here, being like, hey, I got quite a few units at your watchtower. What are you going to do? Are you going to come at me? No, I'm not going to come at you because you've got tanks, and I don't like tanks. They're going to kill me. Siege mode. So this is really the kind of stereotypical ZVZ TvT situation where it's just like, I've got a tank line, and I've got a tank line. So we're just going to look at each other until one of us is brave enough to think we've got an advantage, think the other one has unsieged at the wrong moment, and it's all positional. That's what I love about TvT, is how positional it is, and how it's all due to the good engagements. But of course the medevacs offer some interesting options to Bobson, where he can drop units on top of the tanks, and with relatively low Hellion numbers, there are 11 out, but they're spread quite a long way. It means that potentially he could do some good damage there, trying to get a nice siege position. The Vikings, though, of course, are going to counteract the medevacs quite heavily. It also gives vision for MorroW, which is important as well. But the double expansion coming down, so Bobson really taking the map, which means that, down to the old cliche that TvT ends when the map's mined out, means that Bobson will have more of the map to mine, which obviously means that he'll win eventually just by having more stuff, which is something that anyone under Gold League can never understand, that you can win just by having more stuff. That wasn't a mean remark, by the way. It was just quite comical, because I've been helping some lower ranked players recently just be like, yeah, and they never seem to get that you can just win with anything. But here we go. It looks like MorroW wanting to move forward, and he's taking a lot of damage from this siege line, which is a very, very long siege line. The Marines, Marauders, everything all defended, but it looks like MorroW's actually going to win this engagement quite comfortably, just with the additional numbers of tanks. And of course we see here that Bobson trying to engage as best he can, and MorroW losing quite a bit there. If we look at the loss tab, MorroW having lost an awful lot more for the time being, and of course Bobson with a great resupply. He went for this attack of the 3rd while that push came through, which I couldn't get on screen at the same time, but obviously that opens up a big problem for MorroW, that he just doesn't have the money. And we do actually have a fusion core on the way out for Bobson right now, which is awesome. Fusion cores are always awesome. I hope you do agree. But looking here, this tank positioning, really, really nice. The fact that it's a 5 base Terran now against a 3 base Terran is great news. This 3rd base also knocked out a lot of workers killed as well. 42 killed there. And, well, the engagement pushing forward, and that's because MorroW has no choice other than to go for it, because it's 73 harvesters to 49. That is bad news if you didn't know. But Bobson really has to defend this next push, because I would imagine that MorroW's going to go quite aggressive, because he should know. He actually doesn't. He doesn't know these 2 bases are down. So that's why MorroW isn't being aggressive, because he's like, well, maybe my opponent is still just on 3 bases and I'm okay. He doesn't know that there's 5 bases down, which is not okay. That is really not a good position. 74 to 53 workers. It looks like the 4th command center coming down, though. MorroW's probably like, hey, I can take my 4th base, it'll be fine. Like, we'll probably be on equal bases. Unbeknown, the 5th. This 5th base really going to be game-changing, I do think. And battle cruisers are coming out. Now, this makes me possibly as happy as carriers. Not as happy at Burrow Banelings. Battle cruisers and carriers. Tier 3 air just makes me pretty happy. Apart from Broodlords. Broodlords, you see them so often, it's just like, Broodlords. But battle cruisers and carriers, like, legit. If I could, like, have my dream mono battle, it would be like, it'd be like a 1v1 where they roll carrier battle cruisers. Or maybe a 2v2 where they roll, like, carriers, battle cruisers, and banelings. That would be awesome. I know it'd be just like Baneling Wars, but still. If somehow it could work, if somehow that could become amazing, it would make my day. If you could put like burrow banelings between bases, so when like a worker transfer came down, they all died, that would be absolutely brilliant, and I'd probably have a nerdgasm, like just straight on stream. But here we go, we've got a suicidal medevac, because suicidal medevacs are fun. We've got a lot of missile turrets defending MorroW's third base, clearly worried about drops. Small little force coming up the top, checking to see if there's a 5th base up here, but we'll see no there's not, at which point Bobson will just be like, hell yeah, I've not got any bases to worry about, I'm a base up. What you gonna do at me now? And, well, of course, the Marines and Marauders doing a nice job here. 2-2 upgrades against 1-0 upgrades, which is always good news. Bobson getting up Reapers as well. And, well, more battle cruisers, because, seriously, battle cruisers, like, legit, they're awesome. You've got to love them. You've got to. If you don't love them, leave me a comment telling me you don't love battle cruisers. Not to play with, because I know battle cruisers have various issues, but to watch, like, battle cruisers are winning. They're epic. They're, like, pretty damn awesome, and I realised I basically just became Charlie Sheen for about 2 seconds, but it was quite nerve-wracking nonetheless. Really quite worrying for me, but still, here we go. We've got some movement coming over. We've got a new siege line forming. We've got MorroW being like, I'm going to try and contain you. I want to position. This entire position is just like, I want to take this base, and by positioning across this area, I'm making sure I can. He's also allowing this base potentially. He's got the sensor tower to make him aware of any drops. He's also got mass turrets. Like, legit, these turrets are just going to vaporize any medevacs or drops that try to come through. But the important thing is, obviously, we've got the Vikings moving forward. We've got battle cruisers as well. And this is the downside to mech, is the lack of anti-air. Mass Viking apparently deals very well. And MorroW just being like, GG. Just like, GG. I've seen battle cruisers. Like, G. And, well, Bobson wins against MorroW with battle cruisers, which just makes me so happy. The cannon upgrade was nearly done as well, which would have made me even happier. But yeah, that was game, guys. That was pretty funky for a TvT. So yeah, if you liked the video, subscribe, like the video, leave a cool comment below, and I'll catch you tomorrow for yet another new game. I was Madals. This was an SC2 England cast, and thank you very much for watching. See you around.